Big boy on the rails. Hello everybody, welcome back to Old Frail and Decrepit. Today we're going to put another challenge video out. This one in answer to John Long's Silver Railz Save the Junk Challenge. Now, this is one that seems like a natural for me, because that's what I do a lot. I take the junk that I find, put wheels on it, put it back together, change things around. As you can see, got a few of them right here. So we're going to go ahead and have a look at some of the junk that I've pulled out of the boxes around here and put back on the rails. So thank you, John, for putting out this challenge. The rest of you enjoy the video. Some of the junk that I've repurposed or refurbished, this Canadian Pacific here. I bought this in a box with another one of exactly the same type, and this is one they were using for parts. They had stripped many different parts off of it, so I went and I scrounged around and found things for it, like the nose cover on it. You notice it doesn't fit quite right. It's a little more rounded. Well, that's because it's an end from a 6-inch Marks tank car. Drilled a hole in the front of it there, put in a headlight lens, and then got it to fit sort of on the front there. The tender right behind it started out as a one-way coupler marvel. Now, those of you who've seen my videos, when I've run into these one-way couplers, many times the scissor mechanism is messed up on them. And the only thing I found that's really effective is take the rivet out and you put a regular tab and slot coupler on it. As you can see, I took the rivet out, replaced it with a number 6 bolt with the lock nut on it, replacing the mechanism for the one-way coupler with a tab and slot. Now, I'd wanted one of these for quite a while because they do look great with the Canadian Pacific locomotives. Of course, that's what they're made for. And this one, of course, was very, very cheap. Now, I know I've talked about this consist here before. This was one that I started out with a bunch of these flatbeds that I'd stolen the wheels off of. Didn't know what to do with the shells. In fact, I had thrown a couple of them in the trash can. But down here in the train room, I don't empty that trash can real fast, because you never know when an idea might come across. And so we get an idea and we give it a try, which I have just recently, in the last few months, made a couple more of these cars. So now I'm up to 5 of these cars that have shared trucks under them. I know there's a technical name for them, but I'm not that big of a train nerd, so I don't know what the real railroads call them. But we've got a complete train now, just of those, made from flatbeds with orphaned trucks off of other train cars. Made a little platform, and they hook right together. As you can see, that's works out real nice, kind of cool. These I know I've shown in another video. These they had no wheels, no trucks, and they were all apart. This one I know that I showed in a previous video, but I've made a roof for it now. This one didn't have one. Anybody recognize that? Well, I can give you a pretty good idea what that looks like. That's right. I had a New York, New Haven, and Hartford scale boxcar shell. I'd already stripped the doors and rails off of it. I think one side of it was rusted out. So I just took a chunk out of the middle of it and made me a roof. Looks pretty good with that. Here's a Marx Commodore Vanderbilt that I've redone. This one started life as a wind-up. And because I don't need that many wind-ups, I stole a double reduction motor out of maybe a 400. Hard to say what I stole it out of. Custom painted it. I know I've showed this before, but the lens in the smokestack is actually from a bottle of root beer. I mean, yeah, I could have gotten one off my Coke bottle, then it would have been red to match the rest, but hey, anybody could do that. And that Canadian Pacific that I showed that was a parts deal. This one here was the same sort of deal. This one was a really, really rough. And so I took it apart. Still has the original motor. I did manage to get the motor to run on this. And repainted it. Found a lens out of a Canadian Pacific that I wasn't using that particular lens. Put that in there. Had to do some repairs with JB Weld for the little hood over the headlight because the tabs were gone off of it. But we got it all together, got it so it'll run. And as you notice, I painted it olive drab so that instead of having to spend several $100s for a military looking locomotive, I got one for about $15. This here is one that I picked up at the last train show I was at. As you can see, it was a pre-war Lionel. And what I did with that, because it didn't have any trucks, I just took a Marx slope back tender apart and took the trucks from that, run my number 6 bolts up through locked washers on the, as you can see underneath the tank there, and it's back on the rails. Now I'm not afraid to do that with some of these Lionel things because with the tin, I will probably run the Marx more than I will the Lionel. So go ahead and do that and have me another little item to use with my train. This one was a searchlight car. And I picked it up pretty cheap. It was in pretty good shape, except it had no couplers on it. And the searchlight items were gone off it. So I stripped here's where the switch was originally, which I took that out, and I've got that saved for some other purpose. Put a little foam around here. That way the little die-cast car is removable, replaceable if you want, but I kind of like it on that one. And I know I've showed this one here before. This is a little 00 item that I have. Doing the same sort of thing. I put the Marks trucks underneath. So, and it really looks best with the 6-inch tin, as I mentioned before. Now, just for this challenge, I made another car. I had gotten a couple of little die-cast cars from Grandson. So I thought, you know what, gotta have something for those. And I thought this was a good challenge, good time to do it. What I did here, I had this pre-war frame. It's a pretty common frame. Lots of different things were on it. This one looks like it must have had some sort of, maybe a crane or a searchlight or something on it. So, same sort of deal. Stole some wheels off of a Marks. I think these came off of a Marks plastic kettle car. And put it together. I used the glue dots on these because they were kind of top heavy, and well, this one particularly is kind of top heavy, so it wasn't going to ride up there by itself. So I made this one just for this challenge. Now for a caboose on this particular train, I have this American Flyer, late pre-war. It's the smaller scale. It had the latch type coupler. I had to do a repair on the power pickup, and one of the latch couplers was missing, and so the other one I just snapped off because it was just kind of in the way. But for a coupler on it, I went ahead and put, oh, there's a surprise, I used a tab and slot. So it's able to roll with all of my other Mark stuff and some of my other junk stuff. Here is one that started out as a KMT, a Kusan dummy. Well, when you get too many of those Lionel Alcos that are forward only and pretty stripped down, you look for ways to make them a little different. So I adapted this KMT shell to fit on that, 1055 frame, and it turned out looking pretty good. And I know I've showed this one before also. There must be a real flaw with these 3362 helium tank haulers. Originally they were made to dump the tanks off, and I found one of these and I made myself a load for it. And then at the next train show, I found two more in exactly the same situation. The little tilt bed on them had disappeared, broken off, fallen off. I'm not sure just what. I've yet to find one of these in complete condition. But made some loads for them, and they look pretty good. This one here was the very first MTH that I purchased. And this one, in case you don't recognize it, this one started life as a rotary snowplow. You can see there was a big hole where the mechanism stuck through. Well, I took a chunk of a Marks boxcar and glued that in there. And now it just looks like a crew quarters or a camp kitchen or maintenance of way car, whatever your little imagination wants to put on it. I had to put some trucks under it. Stole those off of an early post-war. All right, come on. Latch up there, boys. They don't want to play nice today. There we go. And this one I picked up for $1. Now I say I picked it up, but all I really got was this shell and this, which wasn't even complete, the frame underneath. So I took a lighted post-war caboose, cut the frame in half, and mounted the lighting mechanism, the power pickup, and bolted it to this, what was left of the frame of this caboose. And now it lights and runs. And as you saw, I also put a Marx coupler on the back so I can run it Marx or Lionel compatible. And as is so common around here, usually I'm tinkering with a little something. What you see here on the work table will be in the next video. So this is just kind of a preview of what you're going to see. Just to let you know, this was not a running locomotive when I got it. All right, we're going to take this car, which is loaded with Marx trucks, and we're going to change that over and load it up with the pipe loads like the others. The reason I'm doing this is that on some of the lighter weight locomotives, they can't pull this. This is very, very heavy, probably one of the heaviest cars I've got. So we're going to change that over. And if it all goes right, we're going to do this. I'm going to video the whole process. Now I'm going to do that on time lapse. Otherwise this video might be an hour or so long. So let's see how this goes. So there we are. The changeover is complete. We now have another pipe car to match the ones that already got on the track. And it is substantially lighter than the wheels that I had on there before. So let's get her hooked up and send it back around the track. There we go. And we're ready to hit the track.